Thank you, First Minister. Clearly, your argument is that the current situation with the Scottish economy is unsustainable and you want to transform the economy in an independent Scotland. But the current situation, as your paper accepts, involves a huge gap between tax revenue and public spending, nearly £24 billion, much, much higher than the UK average. If you're honest with the voters, as I'm sure you want to be, is it not simply a fact that the first years, perhaps even the first decades of an independent Scotland, would require tax rises, spending cuts, vast and expensive borrowing, or a combination of all of those?
Well, let me seek to answer that question candidly, and I did reference the need for borrowing in the early years, certainly, but most governments in developed countries borrow all of the time for investment and also to cover gaps in between their revenues and their expenditure. And most countries in the developed world have deficits. Now, in terms of Scotland's position and Scotland's current position, of course, is a reflection of Westminster governance, not a reflection of life in an independent Scotland. But nevertheless, the position we inherit is the one we will have to manage. One of the points that I made in my opening address is that although we are not seeking, given the turmoil in UK finances right now, to estimate at this stage what the opening position would be, and we will potentially update on that, should it be possible in the months to come. But the current estimate of the Institute for Fiscal Studies is that the next GERS publication, which will cover this financial year, will actually show Scotland's deficit similar to or potentially lower than the UK's.
You and I know that's oil. That is the current high oil price. And wasn't that the mistake you made in 2014 was looking at that?
I think if you had not interrupted me, you would have found that was actually going to be the next words out of my mouth. Sometimes not interrupting gets you further than interrupting, James. So that is to do with the oil revenues. But therein lies the choice. Because of that, what we're describing here as a windfall, oil and gas, as we have learned in previous years, is a volatile asset. And as we look ahead, put aside the price of oil, there are other factors, not least the maturity of the North Sea Basin, that means that is a declining resource. So if we take that windfall opportunity to invest in infrastructure, not only can we accelerate the transition to net zero, but we can kickstart the kind of growth that helps us much more than making cuts or increasing taxes would do to grow the economy and over the medium term get our finances onto a sustainable
path. That's the
path.
Point, the medium term, First Minister, isn't it? You can't have it both ways. You can't invest that money in an oil fund to help the economy in the long term and also say that there won't be tax rises or spending cuts or expensive borrowing. Well, I'm just asking you, will there not be those things in the short to medium term?
You find if I'm able to speak, you get better answers than if you just keep talking over me. I am not trying to say we will do both. So as we use oil revenues to invest, to kickstart growth, which increases the revenues in our economy, day-to-day public spending will operate within the fiscal rules we set. And these fiscal rules, as they are with any country, is not about delivering budget balance immediately. It's about delivering budget balance over a period of time. And if you grow revenues, that gets you to that, I think, in a better and more sustainable way, and in a way that is better for society than the alternatives you talk about. So for any country, it is about that balance. We are setting out here how we think we can achieve that balance in a better way. And incidentally, because this goes to the heart of your question that I'd have got to quicker had you not interrupted me twice, I'm only teasing. I'm only teasing, but we've got lots of questions. I am accountable, which is why I'm going to stand here until every journalist in this room has got the chance to answer a question, unlike some. But the treatment of oil revenues in that way, so taking them out of day-to-day spending, is actually better for overall sustainability because you're not allowing your day-to-day spending to be dependent on a volatile resource. Is this an easy path for any country right now? And deficits have grown across most countries because of the pandemic. Is this an easy path for any country? No, but it is one that we are able, doing it this way, to guide through a sensible approach consistent with our values. Right now, we are facing another period of a UK government trying to balance the books on the back of the poorest in society through austerity cuts that the Chancellor has just said this morning are coming down the track. So these are about choices. You're absolutely right about that. But we're making different choices, and independence is essential to allow us to implement very different choices. Anyway, thank you for that interaction.